All right, let's get back to our guest tonight. Our guest tonight is Gayle Nix Jackson. Gayle, again, thank you so much for spending time with us here tonight.
Oh, it is an honor, and to get this story out and maybe help find this original film, it would be my life dream.
Okay, can we throw we had some listeners that sent in some questions. Can we get a couple questions out to you first, and then we'll pick back up again?
Sure.
Okay, one of the questions, this comes from the East Coast. It says, Gayle, in your grandfather's film, does what he terms the Babushka Lady show up in his film?
Yes, it does. Yes, she does.
Okay. So now this is I don't mean to sound ignorant. I haven't watched all these. So this is this was wearing one of those old babushkas. And is this a little piece of the puzzle?
Okay, the Babushka Lady. I'll just say it. A babushka is a scarf.
Yes.
It's where we. Okay. The Babushka Lady is a lady who had a film or had a camera that day. And her film or pictures have never been found either. You know, it's strange. It makes you want to say, what's going on? I mean, why would these things be missing? Now, did the government take them? Is it Beverly Oliver says that she is the Babushka Lady? Is she? I mean, she says that she is, and she says an FBI agent took her camera away. I don't know. I don't know about that. But yes, you can see her in the next film.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's a lot of characters. There's the what is it? The Umbrella Man, and then and then the theory of the guy that jumps out of the sewer, out of the rain gutter or whatever, and then jumps back in. And then, of course, if you want to go really fringy, the actress...
Jackie did it. She grabbed a gun from the bottom of the... Have you heard that one?
No, what was it?
That Jackie Onassis Kennedy did it. I mean, Kennedy Onassis did it. She grabbed a gun, shot President Kennedy, threw his body down in a secret compartment, whatever. I mean, and put another person up there in his place.
Right. Well, and the one that I thought was really interesting, but it is interesting because there are some tie-ins. If we want to talk about fringy stuff, the actress Tuesday Weld, who is supposedly today the high priestess of the Illuminati, was age 5 or 7 at the time. She was there with George Bush Sr. standing right next to her, and she was brought there to watch this happen.
Oh, I tell you, Dallas was the place to be that day when you hear all these people that were supposedly there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You would think you would see any of these people in film. Now, the George Bush scenario, there are many, many people that do believe that's George Bush. I am not one of them. No, I don't think that was George Bush there. I don't. Now, do I think that there were CIA operatives there that have since been proven that, yes, they were? Yes. Do I think that Richard Nixon and Joan Crawford were there the day before? Yes. But Richard Nixon left. I mean, he wasn't in. You can check records. You can check. There's evidence for all of these things, you know. And with all of these pictures and all of these films, there's even more that you can see who's who standing around that day and being there.
Yes.
You know, I know that fringy stuff. Okay, that hurts me because when I tell people that my grandfather was one of the ones who took the movie, then they're like, you're one of those conspiracy nuts. Well, you know, the reason why people think that we're all conspiracy nuts are for those fringy stories. And I'll tell you, it's also because, and this is true too, and the CIA has even admitted it, through Operation Mockingbird, Operation Mongoose, Operation Northwood, all of these different operations, they made a point in the 60s and 70s of putting down people who did believe there was a conspiracy. I mean, it was on their agenda. That's what they did. And if you said that you believed that there was a conspiracy, you were automatically called a conspiracy buff, which now the stigma attached to that is you're crazy, you know? Right. I, for one, have a graduate degree and was an English professor, and I'm not crazy, and I know that there was a conspiracy. So even if you don't want to say there was more than one shooter, which I don't even know how people can even say that now, knowing the things that we know. But even if you want to believe that the Warren Commission was telling us the truth, if you want to believe that, then you have to believe there was a conspiracy to lie to us, because it has been proven over and over and over. I mean, the CIA even lied to the commissions that our tax money paid for, you know?
Right.
So I just, to me, it's the pendulum needs to swing back towards the truth, and we need to just find the truth and stop all this embellishment and stop all this craziness and just look at the evidence and say, oh, my God, why would that happen? What are they trying to hide? And if it was for national security, what could there be in regards to national security in killing our president? I mean, what would have to be hidden for that? You know what I mean? I don't understand. I just think if we'd all just use our logic and put 1 and 1 and 2 to 2 together, we would say, well, somebody needs to come up with some answers here. Why is the Nix film missing? Does it show something? Well, there is a man who worked on the Nix film who testified before the ARRB, the very last governmentally paid commission, that he did see a man behind the picket fence in the Nix film. He said he saw it. Now, this is a man who was a photographic expert, who had no agenda, didn't work for the government, could care less about being Republican, Democrat, wasn't running for office, was not making a book deal, a movie deal, anything, but said, yes, there was a man, a person, standing in the picket fence area of the Nix film. And it was very evident, and I saw it, and I pointed it out to UPI, the men who owned the film at the time, and they thought, oh, my God, we're about to win a Pulitzer Prize, and they sent it off to the Jet Propulsion Lab. Well, isn't it funny? The Jet Propulsion Lab doesn't remember and doesn't see or know anything about any of this. Now, why would this man lie under oath? You know, like I said, he had no reason to. So logic tells you that there's something going on here, and it's 50 years is long enough.
Right.
I mean, we need to be told the truth. Why did President Obama seal the records until 2017? Why? Why was there a need to do that again? What was going on in Mexico City? I mean, why is the Nix film, the Babushka film that we just talked about, the Cravens film? There was a man working for CBS in the camera car, in the photo car. His film is missing. Why? Why are all these things happening? Why is it that we paid almost $17 million for the Zapruder film to be part of evidence and be at the National Archives, yet if you want to view the Zapruder film and use it to show a classroom or write a book or do research, you have to license it from the 6-4 Museum in Dallas. Now, why is all that when our tax money paid for it?
Right.
What is wrong with us? Why are we allowing these things to keep on and on and on? I know I'm on a soapbox now, and I'm sorry, Pat.
It's okay.
I know.
It's okay.
Sorry.
No apology needed. No, it's a touchy subject that I don't. Maybe the cast of characters involved are still around, and they're going to wait until they're long gone before the truth comes out. I don't know. I don't believe in the magic bullet, although on what's that show with them two guys? There was a couple of documentaries where they said it was the magic bullet that came out of that old Italian right. I don't know. It's crazy. Here's another question for you. Our good friend Durhuff, Robert from the Baltimore area, says, please ask Gayle if her grandfather saw anything over by the grassy knoll, perhaps a puff of smoke, people ducking for cover, etc.
Yes. No puff of smoke. As I said at the beginning, yes, there were people falling down as if they had been hit. In fact, my grandfather would tell us he was scared. He stopped a few people to make sure that they were okay. He'd wondered if they'd been hit by a bullet. I mean, he said it was like a missile zone. It was like a war zone. So, yes, but no, he never smelled gun smoke, and he never saw any puffs of smoke. I mean, he never smelled nor saw. It's what he heard. And he wasn't the only one. His boss, by this time he was working at the Terminal Annex building, which was on the, okay, I'm really bad at geography. North, south, east, and west. I always get those wrong. But he was, let's see, on the south side of Dealey Plaza, the Terminal Annex building, which just happened to be where the postal office was, where Harry Holmes was, that was the last man who talked to Lee Harvey Oswald. But the man that was my grandfather's boss, his name was J.C. Price. And Mr. Price was up on the roof of the Terminal Annex where he could look down on Dealey Plaza. And he, too, said, yeah, the shots came from over there. I know they did. I heard them, and that's where I looked. So there are many people who would disagree and say there's no way, the trajectory, this, that, and the other. But, yes, there was a way. I mean, there is a way for shots to come from the back and from the front, too. I mean, many people said that President Kennedy was shot in the temple. And when the Bam Bam shot, the one that was one right on top of each other, how could that not be two shots at once? I mean, there's no way you can, Lee Harvey Oswald or anyone could do that, you know?
Yeah.
I get really upset about all of this because first off, I'm subjective, I know, because it's my grandfather's film, but because we just walk around like sheep, I mean, believing anything the media tells us. We don't use our own common sense and say, well, wait a minute, what about this, or what about this, or we don't ask questions. And another reason why I wrote that book, and I guess it's from being a professor, is to try and get people to think a little more critically, not just about the JFK assassination, but in life. I mean, we need to question what we're told and use our common sense, you know?
So, where do you, I mean, at the end of the day, where do you think this thing ended up? Do you think there was something on there, Gayle, that maybe identified somebody, or your grandfather caught something?
Yes, I do. Okay. I really do. And you know what, Pat? I always had that feeling, because I believed my grandfather because he said that. I've always had that feeling because why? I mean, why would the film be missing and others are around, and the Zapruder film doesn't seem to catch anybody sinister, but the next film does. And then when I spoke with Mr. Weitzman, that's the man I was referring to earlier, who testified before the ARRB, and this man saw, I mean, this is a photographic expert. This is a man who has spent his life studying photos and knows all about how they're developed and the different filters. I mean, he knows everything there is to know. How can this man who sees this, and it so affected him that it was ingrained in his memory, how can people not listen to what this man said and want to know more and want to say, wait a minute, I want to see this. Where is this? Well, how come we don't get to see it? And that's the question I have. Why? I'm not looking to find my grandfather's film to make $1 million. In fact, I would like to find the film and give it to the National Archives. That's what I'd like to do. I would like to find the original film, and it's with an original that if we use a copy to be photoanalyzed by all the great technology we have now that wasn't around even 10 years ago, there's still room for error because we're using a copy. But if we were to find the original, that would put an end to all of this. And you know what? If it shows there's no one there and it's just a film, and if it shows nothing at all, I can live with that too. But I want to know, and I think that the American people need to know, and I think we need to know for our past, and I think we need to know for our future. Because if we allow this kind of behavior from our government, what is wrong with us? I mean, we can't do this. We are the people, not them. We are the people. We're the ones that decide what gets done, not them. We elect them. They are public servants. What happened to the great statesmen who represented America and did what the people wanted? Where did those people go? And I would really like for my children's future, for my grandchildren's future, to have a constitutional government like our forefathers wanted, not what we've got now. I just don't know how this happened. And I see a lot, or I think a lot of this began with the JFK assassination. I really do. I think it opened up the eyes of many people, and I think that it was the beginning of the end for us and our freedoms and in regards to what our government can and can't do to us, you know?
Right.
I mean, there are so many, if we could find an Edward Snowden of the day, like who worked for the CIA during that time, or who worked for the FBI, or who worked for the Dallas Police Department, or who worked for the 488, or who worked for the 112, all of these different agencies of the Sheriff's Department, to say, you know what, we were told to keep our mouths shut, and I shouldn't have kept it all these years, and I want to clear my conscience. I mean, if we could just get someone to do that, that would be great. But I understand that these people were scared. I know what happened to my grandfather. I know what happened to many of the witnesses I've spoken with in writing this book. They were scared. They were threatened. They were intimidated. They were told they would lose their pension. They were told that they would lose their lives, or threatened that possibly that could happen. So no one was going to talk. I mean, life is more important than that, you know.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
So, yeah, I just, it's very frustrating to me. For all these years, I've been looking for this film, and honestly, I haven't had much help. I mean, in looking for it. Everyone says it's really important, but there have been a few people that have. Jones Harris, that lives in New York. The man is 84 years old, and from day one, when he saw the Nick film, he saw something there, and in fact says, I have never seen it because I've not been to New York to see it, but it has a blow-up of what he says is a gunman there on the knoll. Jack White, who passed away, he believed it. Gary Mack at one time did, but he's now the archivist or the curator for the Sixth Floor Museum, and he believes the Warren Commission. I mean, for all kinds of reasons, people change their minds about what they think or what they saw, and much of it has to do with their careers or with their agendas, and I understand that. I really do. I mean, if you've got a family to raise,
sure,
and you don't want to lose your job, you keep your mouth shut, you know? If you want to be promoted and you're working for a governmental association or organization, and you know that the government thinks that people who talk about JFK means that you're crazy, well, then you don't talk about it. I mean, because you want to keep your job. I do understand all that, but I'm hoping that with this book and with me talking to enough people that they will find the courage within themselves, like my grandfather did, to tell the truth and say, look, this is what I saw. And I'm sorry you're trying to make me feel like I'm crazy, but I know what I saw,
right.
You know?
Right. No, I can't agree with you more. One thing that I've often wondered is, I wonder how many people at the time, and obviously your grandfather didn't, but I wonder how many people at the time, Gayle, maybe took some big payoffs too.
That's right. I've wondered the very same thing, Pat.
I mean,
and what can they say? I mean, now, if they're still alive, I mean, it's hard to admit that you've done something wrong. Think about it when you're a little kid. I mean, you try and hide everything when you do something bad. When you break a dish and you clean it up real fast and you don't want to tell your mom that you broke her best vase. Well, think about it at a grown-up level. You took payoff money to keep quiet, and it helped your family and it helped you during that time, but you knew it was wrong to do. You know? I wish that some law would get passed saying, listen, if you know anything about the JFK assassination and you're scared to say it, come tell us. We'll keep you anonymous. You know how you do with Crime Stoppers. Same thing. I mean, tell us what you know. Let it be proven. I mean, it's got to be proven. There's so many crazy theories out there. It can't be just craziness. But, I mean, if they do know something that can be proven, let's just get it out. 50 years is too long. I mean, to be lied to and to keep all these secrets, it's too long. And then if our government does all this secret stuff, I mean, it actually hurts my stomach when I start talking about it. I mean, it bothers me. When you're a little kid and you're going to school, you're told, aren't you happy you're an American? If you lived in China or you lived in Russia, you would be propagandized. people would be telling you what to think and what to believe. Well, what are we? I mean, that is exactly what the CIA did in Operation Mockingbird. They would hire people working for Time Life or CBS. They would hire, or Washington Post. They would put their people in there, pay off reporters to tell the story as they wanted it told. If that's not propaganda, what is propaganda?
Right.
It's terrible. It's terrible. And the American people, I would venture to say 90% of the people don't know this. They don't know. And it's time that people know. It's time to be told. We were lied to. Okay, we lied. How come it is, Pat, that the German people, I mean, over there with horrible Hitler and the Nazis and the terrible camps over there killing the Jewish people, I mean, horrible. How can they say, yes, we were terrible, we were horrible, it shouldn't have happened, and move on? Why can't we do it here? Why can't our government say, okay, yeah, you know what, we did this, it was terrible, it was horrible, and forgive us, and we won't do it again? Why? I mean, it's funny to me that the European people look at us and kind of laugh, because they automatically, the French and the Russians and the Germans all automatically knew it was a coup d'etat. They knew it. And why? Because they have been around for centuries, and we've been around for 2.
Right.
You know? And we're just new to all of this, and we can't fathom this. That America, none of that wouldn't happen here. That would never happen here. Well, of course it would happen here. We have people starving here. We have people killing each other. I mean, yes, people are bad all over the world. They don't just choose a country and say, we're going to be bad here and nowhere else. I mean, it upsets me, so I guess you can tell.
No. Well, you want to know the truth, and especially in your case with your family and your grandfather. I could tell you, you look up to a person like that, and like you said, it's a group of people that are just, that over the years tried to make him look like he was crazy or there was,
right.
Something not right.
Right. And he wasn't. And he knew what he was talking about. But he was made to believe that he was just a little peon. He didn't have a say-so, and nobody was going to listen to him. I mean, he was made to feel that way. Right. And that's horrible. That's horrible. Everyone deserves the right to be heard. You don't have to agree with them, but they deserve the right to be heard and not called a liar, right.
You want to take a call?
Sure.
Okay. Caller, good evening. Welcome to K-Talk. You're on with Gayle.
Hello. Hey, there are some reports as to Lyndon Johnson hitting the floorboards or getting on the floorboards of the limo that he was traveling in prior to entering the plaza, Daily Plaza. And would you have any evidence that would support that? And or
I don't, but I will tell you something that some may find funny. My grandfather never thought it was. One of the jokes that went around early on was, hey, you know what Lyndon B. Johnson was doing right before the assassination? And, of course, you say, what? He was ducking, There are lots of trails that lead to close friends of Lyndon B. Johnson's. And though he did wonderful things for the civil rights movement, he did. I mean, passing that law, Kennedy obviously wasn't given the chance to do it because he was killed. But LBJ did do that, and but the man, in my opinion, and no, I'm saying in my opinion, was not a very good person, and they're living in Texas and being from Texas, we know of all the little stories and all the little things he did while he was here, And I can't tell you, honestly, I don't know who did this. I have my opinions, but I don't know who did this. But there are a lot of coincidences regarding LBJ. My grandfather's film doesn't show anything. It doesn't show his car. So I can't tell you based on the Knicks film.
Mm-hmm. Was it Halterman of the Watergate fame who made a deathbed confession that was recorded and given to his son?
E. Howard Hunt.
E. Howard Hunt it was.
Yeah.
C. Howard Hunt. So we have a deathbed confession of a CIA agent.
Right.
And
so many people have put that away and said, oh, well, he's just, what? I don't know. Again, like I was saying earlier, why do we not use our logic and think, why would this man say this? I mean, on his deathbed, what would be the reasoning for it? It's not like he was going to make any money when he was about to die. I mean, I think that those things should be listened to. So many of the people who negate a conspiracy say, well, you can't believe the witnesses. Every witness, if you put 5 people together, they're all 5 going to see something different. That's true. But there will also be a thread of exactness running through it, too. Okay, there was a man who killed a man. Okay, what was the man wearing? Well, he was wearing brown. Well, he was wearing red. What is the common denominator? It was a man. So, I mean, at least what I'm trying to say is there is a common denominator to all of it. And St. John Hunt, E. Howard Hunt's son, wrote a book about that, too, I believe, about his dad's deathbed confession. And there have been many others that have spoken. Douglas Horne, who was with the ARRB, talked to a man named Dino Brugioni.
What does AARB stand for?
I'm sorry, the Assassination Records and Review Board. That was the last governmental committee put together to look into the assassination.
Was it federal, state, or who was the sponsorship of it?
The government. I mean, we paid for it, you and me. Yeah, we paid for it. But he talked to a man that worked for Hawkeye Works in Rochester, New York. And Hawkeye Works was only declassified the last 2 years. 2 years! And that was the Kodak Photographic Imaging place. It was under General Art Lundahl. And it began as the National Photographic Interpretation Center. And it was called Hawkeye. And Hawkeye was responsible for looking at the U-2 bomb and doing all of the surveillance with satellites. And that's a very interesting story to look at, too. But anyway, Mr. Horne talked to Mr. Brugioni, who worked for Hawkeye, who admitted that the Pruder film was altered while he was there. I suggest anyone listening and hearing this right now goes and look up Douglas Horne, look up his book, and it talks about it. These things happen, people, but no, the media will not talk about it. They won't. Now, why is that? Well, because it doesn't. The government tells them what to say. And I know that sounds paranoid, and I know that sounds crazy, but it's just the truth. I mean, it's hard to find independent investigative reporters anymore who are willing to say, okay, this is what's happening. Like Edward Snowden, he did it. Well, there are other people out there too, but the media, the mass media, will not report these kind of things without it looking like it's a big hoax and it's a bunch of crazy conspiracy people. Well, Dino Brugioni was not a crazy conspiracy person. He worked for the CIA. He admits that he did. He tells the truth. Why do we not listen to this? I'm sorry, I got on a soapbox with you, too, and you didn't ask anything about that. You asked about LBJ. And here I am talking about the Zapruder film alteration.
I wonder if you could comment, and I'll clear the phone lines here, but I'm one that is disappointed in current day that our sitting congressmen, sitting senators have not challenged President Obama to use the proper constitutional procedures of impeachment. And I would like you to comment on that. I'm a believer in that we as the American people are entitled to know how our congressmen and our senators stand on the question of impeachment.
I totally agree with you. That's what I said earlier. We are the people. And why do we allow this to go on and on and on? I will tell you, I put my actions where my mouth is. I write my congressmen, my senators all the time. Saying, okay, you need to start doing. I really believe that. Here's what I believe. I think, and this would be a hard thing to do, that we need to clear out every single one of the senators, of the representatives, even if we like them, even if they're good people, and start anew. I think that's what we need to do. And I think that there needs to be term limits. for senators and for congressmen? Why is it that we have it for our president, but senators and congresspeople can be there the rest of their lives? I mean, you know as well as I do, you become lackadaisical when you've been in one position too long, and you forget why you're there. These people are elected by us to represent us, to do what we ask and what the majority of the people want to happen, and it's not happening anymore. And we have got to make this stop, or it's just going to get worse. And I don't want my kids or my grandkids living in a world like that, living in a country like that. I just don't. That's why we left England. I mean, that's what was happening there. And what are we doing here? But the same thing. And if we do not learn from our history, we are destined to repeat it. And I, for one, think that everyone needs to start asking questions and start letting your voice be heard. Because no matter what people tell you, one voice does make a difference. And especially when it's in unison with a million others, one voice is, you know?
I agree with your passion. I agree with your goals. I think that we have to take a look at the system many ways. For example, states' rights have been depowered, and our state legislatures used to select our U.S. senators,
right?
And their job was number one to protect and represent the respective state. At the state now, those that were back in 1913 were able to switch it to a popular vote, which was a mistake and allows us to be easily persuaded by the news media, by other factions. And there are a number of small things that bringing back the original Constitution in many ways would protect and give us the protections from one government versus another government, a state government versus the federal government, or several state governments versus that. I do believe that I've heard that there's a representative in Texas that is pro-impeachment. And maybe you could comment if you have any knowledge on
I don't, and I will be quite honest with you. I am so disgusted with our political system right now. I trust none of them anymore. And like I said, I have written them. I have asked for help for years over trying to help me navigate through the red tape of trying to find my grandfather's film, of trying to find. We're at a point now where I used to could get freedom of information records about CIA, about the FBI. Do you know now, I mean, they have put a price on those things too now. But this is what, our tax dollars are paying for these people to work there and to do this for us, yet they're having us pay again? I mean, I don't, it's all messed up. It's really messed up. And I've watched it, and I'm not that old, but I am old enough to say I've seen it change in my lifetime, and it's scary. I mean, because I can't even imagine people who are in their 90s and 100 are looking at this going, what the heck? I mean, this is not the country I grew up in. I think that we're always worried about our kids learning more about math and science. Maybe we should be teaching them a little bit more about history and about politics and governmental law. I mean, maybe we should. I mean, that seems to be a bit put back on the back burner like music and art, you know? I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. And so my goal is to, every place I talk about these things. Every book signing, every high school class I go to, every college, I talk about ask questions and learn about your history. It's your future too, you know? You've got to be, you can't just be passive. You can't just sit back and let someone else do it. Because like Edmund Burke said, when a good man watches bad happen, he's bad too. I mean, it makes us just as guilty if we don't do anything. And all it takes is writing a letter. All it takes is a phone call. I mean, we do that. We drive through Starbucks and get us a drink, and it takes about that much time to call our senator or our congressman, you know? And I think if enough of us would do this, that maybe someone would listen.
When you go for your Freedom of Information requests, what typically are the costs that they have signed or?
Normally, it used to be that you could get the first 100 pages for free, and that's okay. I mean, that's fine. I understand if you get excessive like me and you want to know as much as you could know about everything, and I understand that. But I live in Texas, and so I am so sorry about my dog. I live in Texas, and so if I want it in Maryland or Virginia or wherever the different office is, the NARA office that I'm trying to locate, they will just automatically send me, well, you're going to have to come up here and do it yourself. And so I've learned that the best thing to do is take like a flash drive with you and just download it from their computer, you know?
Good suggestion. Flash drive into the office and download as much as you can.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's my little tip for the day. I'm sorry, but we pay for this stuff. You know, every time I buy a hamburger or buy my son a pair of pants or buy my daughter a new pair of shoes, I mean, money and the tax money, the sales tax there. And then when I pay my income tax every year, I'm paying for all this. Why am I paying for it again? Why? You know, it's not right. It's just not right. So I don't know. I don't have an answer for it because at one time I thought, well, okay, I'm going to run for office and I'm going to get in there and I'm going to, but you know, no, I mean, I don't think any congressman can get anything done unless you're willing to play the game and lay down with, and that's why I'm saying everybody needs to be cleaned out and let's just start anew. And let everybody start on a clean slate, you know? Get out all the politics that you owe me this, if you'll vote for this, I'll vote for that. Get all that out and let's start anew. That's what I think we should do.
I think, again, that's true, but the likelihood of...
I know. I'm an idealist.
We have one, John Tiberman, who made Time Traveler's predictions, and several of which have come true. He made these in the 90s. And as I said, he was a time traveler, said that Hillary Clinton will be elected at least 3 times. Now, how does she get elected as president 3 times? Well, she was a legitimate system, the third as president of the North American Alliance, Canada to Mexico. And then here we are, bigger government, and we've lost our Constitution, certainly at that point.
Mm-hmm. Thomas Jefferson, I mean, I'm wondering, I believe in heaven, okay, and I'm sorry for all of you people who are listening that don't, but I do. And I know that there's a heaven because I'm a mom, first off, and so I've given childbirth, and so I believe it. But I know that Thomas Jefferson wouldn't be rolling in his grave because you're in heaven, you don't see all this bad stuff, because, you know, and so if he's in heaven, he's not getting to see all this horrendous, terrible thing that our founding fathers, I mean, sacrificed and did all these things so that we would have a great nation, and we've just thrown it away. I mean, we just threw it away, and we said, oh, well, that was good. It was too idealistic. It's too pie in the sky. This is the real world, and no. They were idealists for a reason. There is a place in the world for idealism. You know, there is. Now, I'm not saying that everything needs to be hope and pie in the sky. We do need to be rational, but we also need to be idealistic, and we need to strive to be better. We do. We don't need to be so complacent and say everything is fine, just as it is. No. We can always be better. And I see us going backwards. I don't see us moving forward.
Unfortunately.
Sad, isn't it?
Hey, thanks for calling in tonight.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
So, Gayle, where can people, we've been talking for 2 hours, where can
Have
people...
we?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Talk a lot, don't I?
No, that's what it's all about. Where can our listeners get your book?
Oh, I'm really bad at the selling part. Thank you for asking, because I'm really not good at that part, so thank you. Right now, it's on Amazon in softcover and Kindle. And in October, it should be on Nook and Barnes & Noble and all those other great places. And right now, in fact, I'm going to say this right now because I put it on my Facebook page. I have only got a handful of first edition books with a dust cover. And the next print that's coming out, I've got a new print run working right now. They won't have a dust cover. and it won't have the 50th anniversary label on it. It will just be Orville Nix, the logo in the center of the cover. So right now you can, if you want a hardcover, if you're like me and like books that you can actually hold and tangible, you can buy those at my website at www.galenixjackson.com/books, and it'll just take you right there to PayPal. Or you can order it, like I said, on Amazon or Nook. On Kindle, and it'll be on Nook next month.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Hardcovers, I don't have very many of the first editions. There's more books. I don't mean to say like they're all gone. I'm saying that the first editions are almost gone. And I've still got a few of those left, and those are sold directly by me. Or at Book People Bookstore in Austin and the Book Carriage Bookstore in Roanoke, Texas.
Gotcha.
But you can get it from me, and it's cheaper, I think, usually from me. And it gets signed. I'll sign it if you get it from me.
So where does this all go? What's the next step for you?
I am working on another JFK book about the JFK assassination, and this book talks about all the many things, like not knowing the Nix film. There's lots of things that people don't know about the JFK assassination that are true. That these aren't made up, stories. These aren't theories. These are actually things that happened those 4 days that most people don't know about. And so the working title is called Chronicles of Conspiracy, and that's the one I'm working on right now. And then I think another book, a JFK book, and then after that, I'm wanted always just to be a novelist, and so this how I started in nonfiction is strange for me, because as a former English professor, I taught writing and reading, and I wanted to be a novelist. So I'm hoping 3 more books down the line, I'm sorry about the dog. I will be writing a novel that won't have anything to do with JFK at all. Not at all. It'll be out of my imagination.
Well, no, it's a big piece of your life.
Yeah, I just believe that people, and I think most of the people who write books about JFK, the good books, are factually based and can be proven. And that's what I did with my grandfather's book, this book about my grandfather. And all of these things they happened. And I think people need to know. And like I said, it doesn't solve who did it, but it gives background information to show that I'm a person, my grandfather was a person just like you, Pat, just like that nice man I just spoke with, just like the people who sent messages in. We're all just regular people trying to find the truth, Do
you think there's anybody that you've talked to that maybe knows something, but they're just not ready to say anything yet?
Do you mean in regards to my grandfather's film?
Yeah. You've obviously met with a lot of different people. Do you feel there's anybody out there that maybe knows a little something more about this, but they're just not quite ready to talk or come forward? I do. And it's just one of those women's intuition things, and I don't want to get sued for slander or anything, but I do. There are several important researchers in the JFK community who I think know more but don't want to hurt a friendship. And one of these researchers had access to much of the photographic evidence, and a lot of researchers did, but this one did especially. And I asked him point blank if he had my film, and he said no. So I have to believe that he's telling me the truth, though in my heart, I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true. So I don't know. I wish I would be lucky enough, Pat, that it was just being held as a souvenir. You know what I mean? By someone who was involved in the case and thought, I'll just keep this because this is cool. I would hope that that's what happened, but I don't know. I've had so many people tell me, Gayle, you're never going to find that film. It's been destroyed a la Oliver North. Remember when he destroyed everything? Yeah.
So I don't want to think that. I want to think, and I'm going to just let it be said right now on your program, if you have my grandfather's film, I won't sue you. I won't use your name. I won't do it. Just let me know. And give it back so that we can find the truth. I promise I won't press charges. I won't do anything. If you know information and you're scared to talk about it, send me an anonymous email. I mean, send it encrypted or send it to my address or call me. I won't say anything. I mean, but we do need to find the truth.
Right. Well, in your book and your talks and your interviews, I mean, that's all it can, I mean, it just all you can do is keep stirring it up, and that's what it's about. And eventually, somebody hopefully will step forward. Gayle, I want to thank you. 2 hours went way too quick, as always.
It did.
Tonight was a great night. 2 great guests. And I'd like to have you back on again, maybe before the holidays, before Christmas.
Oh, Pat, it would be an honor, and thank you so much. I hope that I educated a little bit and told people. I hope that it helps your program too.
No, you did, and it's going to get people thinking. And I'm going to go take a look. I'm going to go. I mean, I went through all the different stuff associated with you, but I want to take a look at some things myself. And again, thank you for giving us a couple hours tonight on a Saturday night. It was an honor talking with you. People can go to your website, GayleNixJackson.com. The book is called Orville Nix, The Missing JFK Assassination Film. Go check out our website. It's got a ton of info. Thank you again for being here, Gayle.
And thank you, Pat.
And we'll stay in touch.
All right.
Okay, take care, my friend. Good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.